Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the 8th episode of the Tales from the Prick podcast. Here with me tonight, I have a very special guest. He is a two-time Insane 8 winner, and he is a former alternative champion for ICW, and is the current two-time ICW heavyweight champion. Ladies and gentlemen, from Colorado, United States, the Wizard King, Orin Veidt. Welcome to the podcast, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I know we've got a big time difference, so I'm glad we're able to make it work out.
Yeah, for those who don't know, we've had some issues with, organizing all of this, but, the show must go on. And I think it was one of the leitmotifs of Orin's career, even when his back was all fucked up. Ask Eric Ryan for confirmation. So we're going to start with a question about... We're going to start with a question about GCW because at the beginning of 2019, you were part of the team as you faced G-Raver at 400 degrees. And it was, one crazy ride because in the end, you finish main eventing Japan at the beginning of 2020 against Masashi Takeda. And unfortunately, that match was fucked up because Takeda cut his, back open. But can you tell your crazy experience that year, like how Brad called you, how the things went, things like that?
Yeah. So it all started at the very first Matt Tremont, Danny Havoc deathmatch extravaganza for H2O. That I wrestled Jimmy Lloyd there. Hey, can you watch this? I would really just like an opportunity. He took a watch. I got to the back. He's like, "What are you doing in January?" And I'm like, "Absolutely nothing." Why? He's like, "Perfect. Keep the 12th open." And I was like, "Okay, this is the biggest opportunity of at that point in my career." And then I remember I was sitting playing Dungeons and Dragons as I do on a weekly basis, and all of a sudden they sent out the match graphic, and it was against G-Raver, and I was like, yes, this is what I need. This is the best opponent I could have. This is who I was hoping to work with. It was either him or Eric Ryan, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And it was a wild match. It was crazy from the start. And man, the reception that I got from those fans was unlike anything I had felt. And that ride from there to Japan the next year was truly a wild one. I got to go to Mexico and represent GCW there. I got to have that match with Eric Ryan that was also wild and nuts. And
yeah, personally,
to finally get to Japan.
Personally, that match is my second favorite of the year 2019. Ahead. Personally, that match is my favorite. Just after Janila versus Tony Deppen from I can't remember, I think it was Crime Wave maybe. But just after there was that match, crazy, man. Crazy death match.
Yeah, it was a blast. And people still bring it up. People still bring up, the matches that I had with G-Raver and with Eric Ryan, because we went crazy in that, auditorium for in Chicago, just that rec center. Because I know death matches get a lot of cool venues. This was just a gym, just a wide open gym in the middle of Illinois, and we had a blast. And it really catapulted my career. I think people really took notice of me because before then, I was just doing stuff for ICW in Milwaukee, and that's only live streamed if it's the Insane 8, and that's only been 2 times now. So, the eyes are really only the local fans and any like hardcore fans outside of that. So really getting those eyes on a national scale, completely changed my career.
Yeah, GCW actually changed the career of a lot of people, even though there have been, issues with some workers, but, shit happens and professional wrestling always changes. So that's part of the game. Always. I mean, I think even though those wrestlers actually broke up with the promotion, they hope that a lot. Like, I don't think they will be, they will deny what GCW and Brett Lauderdale did for them. So GCW is the product, still is. Fuck would say the other way around. And you're not the first that is actually portraying blasphemous tattoos. And for those who don't know, Orin has a devil on his chest, you know, the moon phases. And you're not the first because Aleister Black, better known as Tommy Han in the Indies, WXW, you know, all that stuff, actually portrayed the same type of character. And he had issues for that with WWE and Vince McMahon. So what I want to ask you is, did you actually have issues with promoters at shows or with fans for your tattoos?
Yeah. In Minnesota where I came up, everything was super conservative, very, you know, Christian based still. So I did run into a lot of issues where, you know, you got to wear a shirt, you got to wear different gear that doesn't have a pentagram on it. First Wrestling that runs WrestlePalooza, they couldn't use me because I had, you know, the pentagrams on my gear. I had the tattoos, and he's like, I want to use you, but you know, things are too family friendly. I can't. And at least he was honest about it. At least he was, you know, straightforward about it. Eric Cannon's always done, you know, great by me. And but a lot of other companies were like, you know, no, we can't use you because, you know, you're problematic. The stuff you have isn't something we can represent because it's not family friendly. You know, that let alone they just let me do my work and, you know, be the wrestler that I am, and then show that that's all that matters. But yeah, no, I did run into issues here in America, you know, and especially in Minnesota. But on the small scale, it was a problem. But on the large scale, it wasn't at all. You know, the bigger companies, I've had no problems with that in any way.
Yeah, that's actually a lucky thing. And it's actually sad that the United States are still so conservative about some things, even in professional wrestling, that is, you know, a business in which have been portrayed all kind of characters. And
Yeah,
I really can't see how a devil on the chest can offend someone, but whatever.
it's crazy. It's
Bigotry,
crazy.
bigotry, one of the worst things in the world. Fuck the Vatican, by the way. And next question is about uh, a recent match that you had that was at No Peace Underground Memento Mori, in which you faced Bam Sullivan for the, you know, H2O Danny Havoc Hardcore Championship. And I'm, you know, shocked that you're still alive after that fall, for real. I don't know why your back is still intact. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're a fucking Terminator. I can't explain that. But the question I want to ask you is, you had a promo post-match in which you and Bam both said that Danny Havoc will be proud of what you did in the ring. So Danny Havoc has been very influential in a lot of people's careers. What's your experience with him? Did you know him personally, or did you fight him?
Yes. I never had the opportunity to have a match with Danny Havoc. I got to be around him for a lot of my career. He was the reason I was at the first extravaganza. He was good friends with the guy that runs ICW Milwaukee, Dysfunction, because they grew up in the same area. And Danny Havoc came from Iowa. I come from Minnesota. We're, you know, small town farm kids. And no, he really saw a lot of me, and he gave me a lot of, you know, a lot of tips, a lot of pointers. He went out of his way to take his time and talk to me. And he really, like, he saw a lot of potential in me. I got to share my trip in Japan with him, which was awesome. I was really fortunate to share it with guys that I, you know, not only look up to, but, you know, consider my family. Guys like Danny Havoc, Alex Colon, you know, Matt Tremont, you know, Schlack. Being with those guys over there meant a lot. And especially Danny Havoc, we were having a conversation one morning down in the little kitchen of our place we were staying, and he said, you know, he's like, you're the second best American deathmatch wrestler behind Alex Colon. And that blew my mind. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, so don't ever stop, you know, pushing. Don't ever stop, you know, trying to get to that #1 spot. He's like, because you have the potential, you have all the ability to do it. And, you know, that hit me hard because it kind of validated, you know, like what I'm doing. It really validated where I'm going in this. And he was such a great human being. And to honor him and that legacy and that title that, you know, now exists with Bam, who's a young kid. I mean, he's older than me, but like, you know, he's a young kid in death matches. And it's weird, the death match, you know, ages you differently. And I was like, this is your opportunity. It's something that Danny Havoc would have loved to do for him. So I was like, this is your chance to show on a stage, you know, bigger than you've had, that you can do this. You know, we tried to be innovative. We tried to wrestle. We tried to not just smash and slash as some, you know, deathmatch wrestlers do. And I feel like we really did. We did everything, and Bam went to a level that I don't think he's ever been to before. And I was really proud of Bam, and I knew that Danny Havoc would have absolutely been proud of him too.
Yeah, I'm really sorry that the finish didn't, you know, work the way you wanted to, because the making of the spot was really long. But
Yeah.
I have, as a fan, a personal theory. Like, if you're gonna do a spot that requires time to be, you know, built, the better thing that you do, that you can do, is make it worth. So I know you've been all, you know, you did your best. You and Bam did your best, and it really sucks when things don't, you know,
Well,
go out the way they are supposed to be.
it was set up wrong. The way, you know, the way that they pitched the contraption to me, they set it up completely different than the way it was pitched. So then we were kind of stuck with like, all right, let's try to make this work one way or another and not, you know, not die, because once it goes up, it's there, and we're not going to not use it, you know? And so I tried to find the safest way possible. And then the glass decided it didn't want to break, and down we went.
Yeah, the important thing is you actually protected each other, and neither of you
Yes.
went full Vic Grimes with that, because it would have
Oh God,
sucked.
yeah.
For those who don't know, Vic Grimes is, or was, I don't even know if he's alive anymore. I'm sorry.
I don't either.
Like, it did this spot with the original Gangsta New Jack in ECW, and you can see it from the dark side of the ring and some interviews that New Jack did. This fat guy goes out of a platform and like pushes off at the last minute, and New Jack broke his fucking head. So for all the wrestlers watching that are like wanting to do death match, always protect your opponent. It's
yes.
it's
That's
the
the most
same.
important thing.
It's the same with like normal professional wrestling, standard professional wrestling. You have to protect your opponent. That's what you have to do. So don't pussy out. If you do if you say you want to do something, just do it, or push this out before, or push this out before, even maybe just before the beginning of the spot. So let's continue with another question. Still talking about 2020, you had a pretty crazy year because you competed in the Insane 8, even though COVID was present. You went to the semifinals, being eliminated by Neil Diamond Cutter. And in that precise tournament, you have, I think, your second match with John Wayne Murdoch.
First one.
The first one was the first one. The second was in ICW Knowles Bar, right?
Yep.
And the third one is the Iron Man. All right. So you had your first match with John Wayne Murdoch, which was probably the show stealer in the night. Incredible match. You know, the hustle driver on the car. You went full crazy with that. And I'm still shocked that someone actually took a knife and put it on that door. And John, I don't know why that stayed in my mind since. So can you tell about this experience? How was to face the independent TV wrestler of the year for the best part of that year, you've probably been your most, frequent and violent opponent.
Yeah, I knew, from years ago that John and I, if we were to have a singles match, and if we could do it on a big enough stage, that it could really be something special. Kind of like what Matt Tremont and Nick Gage had it in early GCW when they kind of had that series of matches that a lot of people
Yeah, that
talk
was
about.
incredible.
Yeah, and that's something that I wanted. I wanted a memory. I've had a lot of crazy, wild matches, but I wanted to like really create a story. I wanted to create something that people could look back on years and years and years later and go, wow, like this trilogy of matches was something super special and something, super like it could stand the test of time. And I told John, I'm like, this might be the first round, but we're going and we're going in. And John was all for it. And John's been doing this forever. I don't know how he can still do this because John never takes a night off ever. Ever. I've never seen him be like, you know what? I'm gonna take it easy tonight, guys. He just goes and goes and goes. And we went in and we did it. And I think that planted the seed for what then became that trilogy of matches. And yeah, it in the Insane Eight, of my home, or what was, my then home of ICW Milwaukee, where I truly, grew as a wrestler and really found myself in ICW Milwaukee. It was great to have the first one there.
And how about the Iron Man match? Because that was actually a crazy match. I don't know why, but it was cool that you went full heel with the struggles at commentary. That was like, I was that thing. Like, can you tell that and maybe describe how the match went for you?
Yeah. It's hard, especially in today's day and age, I think, to keep people engaged. I mean, our biggest opponent is the phone in somebody's hand. And to keep not just the people in the crowd engaged, but the fans at home watching their screen for 60 minutes, when normally, a 15-minute match, people are like, that's too long. I'm not watching that. I think we did it. I told John, and John told me, we want it to be all killer, no filler. And I think with that, you had to tell a story in that match to keep people watching, to keep people, invested in it. And leading up to it, Struggles, who is an amazing commentator, also
I
Ron,
agree.
I love them both. Yeah,
I agree.
I think they work great together. And Struggles is great about, singing John's praises, about, hyping John up the way that John has always deserved to be hyped up. And it was a story of, people, everybody talks about John. And I was like, John, like, you've been around, you've had your time in the sun. Like, you spent most of your career in IWA, where not a lot of people saw you. I watched John in those IWA matches where nobody else saw, but John is incredible. He's putting on these masterclass matches, but it's not getting that national notoriety. And I was like, oh, you're finally getting it, but your time's done. And it was just kind of a story of frustration, of, bitterness on my part, because when wrestling kind of came back, I was really bitter. I was, because I felt like I had done enough to have these spots, but I wasn't getting these spots. GCW wasn't calling me anymore. ICW No Holds Barred wasn't hitting me up when they were running back again. I was like, what do I have to do? I thought I've done enough. So, it was kind of it was a real life story, of like real energy and real feelings that we're able to put into this Iron Man match and really tell a story of, somebody who wants to be remembered against the truly, I believe, the best in the world.
Yeah, probably Wayne Murdoch is for No Holds Barred, what Alex Colon is for GCW. And
Oh yeah.
it blows my mind. You told before that Wayne Murdoch has been done this for years, and you can't explain why he's still walking on his own faith and
Yeah.
is able to do that, because it's actually getting the consideration that it deserves just now after years
Yeah.
of awesome, performances. And it also blew my mind when I saw that. I heard that promo. He told, like, I am just a fat guy who wants to smoke a lot of weed and eats a lot of food. And I was like, literally, this is legit, guy. This is legit, man. I was in front of my
Yes.
screen and I told, yeah, but you can actually do a picture perfect Canadian destroyer. What the fuck are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
shut up and wrestle. That's what you can do better.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And he
anyway.
can. He can. My favorite wrestling match, traditional wrestling match, involved Wayne Murdoch. It was Wayne Murdoch and Aaron Williams on some no-name show for IWA, and I was glued to my seat in the commentary booth watching this match, and I was like, this is incredible. The perfect storytelling, amazing moves, amazing everything, and I was like, they don't even have to bleed.
I'm pretty sure Wayne Murdoch will fit in a scramble match with no trouble. Like, he can
Nope.
move, he can tell a story, he can wrestle, he can do pretty much everything. And just because we're talking about the rejects, you have it's not the final boss, because you actually just faced the final boss and then you lost to Reed in the next show. And that was sad, actually, for me, even though I fucking love Reed Bentley. I tried to rock him for years right now. I maybe like him more than Wayne Murdoch, even though someone could actually think I like Marty Jannetty more than Shawn Michaels. But anyway, I think they're pretty much the same level for different reasons. But you're facing Akira at the next ICW No Holds Barred. And this brought to my mind that professional wrestling, and deathmatch wrestling in particular, is going down hard on storylines. Don't you think this is the perfect moment for every professional wrestling fan to follow deathmatch wrestling?
Yeah. I think we have people now that can tell stories. I think a lot of the times, back in the olden days, of Nick Mondo and the JC Baileys, the guys, from long ago, we had only those few guys, and a couple others that could truly tell stories, that could truly, keep you invested. And you had a lot of guys that just were hack and slash guys, and there wasn't real wrestling acumen to them. Now we have guys, that Alex Colon is one of the, he's one best of the best. He's a incredible wrestler. Eric Ryan is an amazing wrestler. G Raver is an incredible wrestler. So, and we truly, like, we look at our craft and we want it to be taken as seriously as everything else, because we love it and we know what it can be and we know what it is. And I think now is the best crop of guys that can tell stories, that can give you more than just like, oh wow, that was a crazy bump. It's like, wow, that was a crazy bump, and I was on the edge of my seat leading up to it because of the story that they told leading up to it. And I think now is definitely, we have the best guys doing it, and we have the best storytellers, and we want to tell stories. We don't want to just go and take a bump. We want to go out there and we want to give those fans something to remember, that wasn't just like, oh yeah, they fell through some glass,
That's good, because I've been a deathmatch wrestling fan since like 2014, when I first saw John Moxley versus Brain Damage at the TOD. I think it was 2013 actually, but anyway, as you told, you have not just the guys who can take big bumps like Akira, that I forgot to mention. You're gonna face him at the next ICW Olds Bar show. I didn't say his name. And the fact is, I saw that from 2017 when like there were Cyclope and Miedo Extremo in GCW, and they were putting up hell of a match. Even technically, they were like a sort of spot fest because there were lots of spots, but they were actually good telling stories spot fest. And I saw there are some guys who slowed up recently, like you mentioned, Eric Ryan. But what blows my mind is, just going to mention one event, the TOS 5. In the finals, there were Ricochet Page and Alex Colon. And Alex Colon just beat the shit out of Ricochet Page with light tubes, and he didn't bleed a single sip of blood that night. Like, not one drip of blood during all night. Alex Colon busted him open with light tubes in 1 fucking minute. And it took me. I was legit involved by that. So yeah, you're right. You have the best storytellers right now. And talking about storytellers and professional wrestlers, just by the name, like professional wrestlers, deathmatch related and non-deathmatch related. Who were the guys that inspired you, both in your personal and professional wrestling experience and as a fan?
As a fan, obviously you've got the Nick Mondos when it comes to deathmatch wrestling. I'm a Minnesota guy. That's where he grew up. Everybody that I was around in Minnesota knew him. So that was a big influence. That's the biggest one. But then you get in and, I started up in Minnesota, and a guy like Eric Cannon is around. Eric Cannon and Darren Corbin, who've been around forever.
Yeah.
And have done literally everything that you can do in wrestling. They've wrestled every name that you see on TV. They've been everywhere, done everything. So being around Eric Cannon a lot really shaped who I was, really shaped, the way I looked at wrestling, really shaped the way that I treated wrestling. I think he's probably been my biggest influence since getting into the business, because he, I use his Total Anarchy move now, that twisting neck breaker, that's directly because of him, and it's because he took that time when I was, a young, shitty little kid in wrestling that thought his shit didn't stink, and, helped guide that mentality into more of a focused and not a cocky little asshole, like a more humble, like learning, growing, and focusing that energy towards growing instead of like, oh, I'm great already, what are you talking about? So those were probably the two biggest guys. But I draw stuff from guys all the time. Like my favorite wrestling to watch, my favorite wrestler to watch now is Zack Sabre Jr. I will watch the hell out of a Zack Sabre Jr.
I knew him personally. He's a really nice guy. He once went to Italy for 2 matches with Italian wrestlers. They were like show-stealing matches. Yeah, I agree. Zack Sabre is awesome. He's really awesome.
Yeah, that's what I get hooked on now.
So it wouldn't be a mistake to tell that you'd be into facing both Zack Sabre and Eric Cannon as your dream matches, because I always do this call-out thing. I always do this call-out thing at the end of each interview, but I can understand they're your favorites, so you will probably pick them to wrestle a professional wrestling match.
I've wrestled Eric Cannon, I think, like 30 times.
Oh, fuck.
But he has to give me a hardcore match at one of these shows, probably like once the world returns to semi-normal in a year or two or whenever that happens, and we can have a WrestlePalooza again. That's what I want. I want Eric Cannon in a hardcore match at WrestlePalooza.
Yeah, I saw him did pretty much everything, because I'm a fucking nerd. I've seen pretty much everyone. So Eric Cannon, I saw him in Chikara. I saw him in AAW. And I think he was in Ring of Honor even for some time.
Yeah. Dragon Gate USA.
Dragon Gate USA, yeah, that's it.
Yep.
The golden days of Dragon Gate USA, when Sapolsky was in the fucking sellout, is actually always have been. But anyway, Yeah, it will be awesome. It fought a good hardcore match with Jimmy Havoc, who is not in town anymore, you know, for some issues after, you know, this. I don't like to talk about it anyway. So I think it's all for today, and I want to thank Orin Veidt for the time he gave me for this awesome chat. And for those who don't do it already, follow this man on social media, watch his matches. He's active pretty much on American soil, every deathmatch promotion as Orin Veidt services. He's a really awesome guy. And follow my channel, like the video, share the video, and support independent wrestling, because now more than ever, it needs it. Independent wrestling is the most art-filled, with emotion, professional wrestling on the planet. And
Absolutely.
you can see Orin Veidt works on a week schedule and then fight for your entertainment. So fuck you if you don't support him. That's what he does. So that's the end of the interview. Say hi, Orin.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Do all the good stuff you're supposed to do when you watch these. Come on.
And support the Wizard King, guys. Just do it. All the best. See you next time, pricks.
All right.